This week, millions of Americans experienced a Thanksgiving like no other, with heightened restrictions put in place by governors across the country in response to spikes in coronavirus cases. Joining me now from Little Rock is Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, Vice Chair of the National Governors Association. Governor, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you, Brad. It is good to be with you today.
You know, Arkansas has been dealing with this, and where do you think your state is? Just in hospitalizations as of last week, Friday, it's surpassed 1,000 for the first time in your state. Tough number. Where are you?
Well, the hospitalizations is the great concern, and that is a record number of COVID patients that we've had hospitalized. Hopefully it will stabilize. We have a hospital group that's working with me very closely to make sure that we continue to have adequate hospital space for both COVID patients, which is really a minority of those that are in the hospital, as well as caring for all the other health care needs that we have. During the last 3 weeks since we've had this most recent spike, the people of Arkansas are taking this extraordinarily seriously. I think we had a very subdued Thanksgiving. We're very thankful, but at the same time, people understand the risk of large gatherings and the importance of social distancing. We're trying to take the approach that we want to make sure that our guidelines are followed. We've increased our enforcement efforts. We've worked with our hospitals to make sure that we have space there. We're not trying to shut down businesses that are doing a good job. We still have some limitations in spacing at our restaurants and gyms. Those are important to be enforced, but we realize that you can really increase problems across the board if you start shutting down businesses, putting people unemployed as we go into the Christmas season.
You mentioned enforcement. You have a statewide mask mandate. You've had some doctors write you a letter saying they would really like you to enforce that. It states that it could result in a $500 fine. Are you doing that on the mask mandate front?
Well, in terms of our restaurants, our regulated industries, we have inspections. We're enforcing the mask mandate, the spacing requirements as well. In terms of the general population, we have to rely upon our local law enforcement, and that's a gap. Because there's a lot of hesitancy about going out and arresting someone for not having a mask on. And so, there's a warning that's given. We're working with our municipal officials to increase that education part of it and the compliance efforts on the mask. Everybody knows what needs to be done, and we have that mask mandate in Arkansas. Vast majority are following that. We've put in millions of dollars into an ad campaign stressing the science behind the reason we need to do that. I think that's the right approach, but we're always looking for more ways to strengthen that compliance and make it better.
On the flip side, you have made clear, and you just did, that there will be no shutdown of businesses again.
Well, I don't know if you ever say never, but that's the last thing that we want to do, and particularly shutting down a business that has worked hard for the last 8 months to comply with every public health directive, and they have safe positions within their restaurant, and they have no cases coming out of it. And so that, to me, is just fundamentally wrong to say you're out of business now and your workers are unemployed, particularly whenever there's not any CARES Act relief package anymore. That money has been allocated. We've tried to help our small businesses, but we're not able to compensate someone for their loss of a job, for their loss of an income and shutting down a business. So we want to be smart about it. And so we did put an 11 p.m. curfew on bars and restaurants, trying to break up the late night crowds. But at the same time, we don't want to overly restrict our businesses that are doing a good job out there, because that just makes the problem worse.
Should Arkansas students be back in school physically as opposed to virtually?
You know, I'll tell you a story. I just know of a couple that are both working, and the school had to go virtual. And so what do you do with the children when both parents are working? They had them stay over at a friend's house, and the child was positive within days because of the friend. And so the important thing is that the school is a safe environment. We have the option to go virtual and to pivot there based upon local decisions and local cases. But to say carte blanche, we're going to close our schools, we're not going to have the in-classroom instruction as an option, would really have some adverse consequences that we don't need and are not necessary. And so we want to be able to keep those open with the option to pivot to virtual based upon local circumstances, but we want to minimize that effort when we can. Going to school is very important. On the higher education side, as our students come back, we want them to get tested. We want them to, if they've been in a hot zone or they've been among people that are not protected, to make sure they isolate or they get tested as they come back.
I want to turn for a minute to the election. President Trump, Governor, as you know, has not conceded the election. He continues to say that it was stolen. Computer experts within his own administration have pushed back on that. Take a listen.
There has been so much fraud that we have uncovered as a campaign. And listen, people need to know going forward, it's not just about right now. We need to know that every election we hold in the United States of America is fair and legal, and every legitimate vote gets counted.
It was the most secure in American history. There is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes or changed votes or was in any way compromised.
Yeah, I stand by that. And the American people should have 100% confidence in their vote.
So, Governor, have you seen anything that suggests that there is evidence that the president could prevail in overturning the election that has already been certified in a number of key states?
Most importantly, the courts have not seen any evidence of such extensive fraud that they have to change a result. Scores of courts have looked at that, and so that's why the General Services Administration recognized Vice President Biden as President-elect. He is President-elect. We need to work in that transition. I applaud President Trump for initiating that transition and making sure that that is happening. The worst thing that could happen is that we do not have a smooth handoff when it comes to our vaccine distribution plans, our warp speed, and that takes that transition to start now, and I'm grateful that it has. But I do think whenever you look at the elections, it would be good after the fact that we have a bipartisan review as to what's best practices, because this is going to come up again as to how to handle absentee votes, what's the best way to protect the integrity of those votes, to give people confidence. And that's not to say everything was fraudulent on this election. It just says that we need to learn from each other, all the 50 states, and to what we have done and how we can do it better, and to give people confidence that is so important in our democracy.
So you think the president should officially concede?
Well, I understand the legal reason why he should not, because he has some appeals that are going. So I recognize that. But beyond that, it's President-elect Biden. We're working with the transition. That is where we are. We expect him to be sworn in January, even though there's going to be some continued reviews, which I respect. And it's not that important. The transition is what is important. The words of President Trump are not quite as significant, but the actions are important in helping in this transition to make sure that President-elect Biden is ready to go on January 20th.
Governor Hutchinson, we appreciate your time. Thank you.